Welcome everybody to Aspen Updates in an Instant for the 21.11 release. This is a little bit of a shorter release. We're only doing 2 weeks between releases, so we've still got lots of really good stuff for you. So release notes, as always, are available at aspentest.bywatersolutions.com/admin/release notes if you want to look at them before the actual release. And as we develop, they change daily. And then once we deploy, it's available on your site as well. So the first big thing that we did is we changed the My Account page. So when you first log into Aspen, rather than just giving you some text links saying how many things you have on hold and that kind of thing, we've kind of made that a little bit nicer looking so that you can easily see checkouts and overdues, ready for pickup, holds. Clicking on any of those will take you into that page. And we've also added reading recommendations to help people find things. This page then is completely, I would say a blank slate, but it's not a blank slate because there's stuff there. So it is something that we can definitely add to in the future. So I'm sure we'll be adding things like fine information and that kind of things for people that still have fines. But we can keep adding to that a lot, which is going to be really nice. So yeah, and then we'll be able to mirror some of that in the app too, so people get a consistent view. Then within and we've got lots of people saying they like it, so glad that everybody's liking it. Within my library card, we've added the ability to, so we've previously had the barcode, we've added the expiration date, which you can choose to display or not. So that is configured. If I go into the administration, over here, and we're going into our library settings. We'll edit our library. In the ILS and account integration, there is the show card expiration date. If that is checked on, then we show the card expiration date. And if you check it off, we don't. That's going to be defaulted on. You can easily turn it on or off however you like. Then the next thing that we did, so for COHA, starting to prep for the 21.05 release of COHA, we have added, if you're looking at your messaging settings for COHA libraries, there's 3 new ones that are available. So ILL ready, ILL unavailable, auto renewals, all of those can be toggled on and off. So as soon as COHA 21.05 rolls out to everybody in a month or so, I believe you'll see those. We also did some back-end stuff where there's just some changes in the database and a few different things that are changing for 21.05. So we're prepping for that. For libraries using the Aspen Discovery Materials request system, rather than the one built into like your ILS or just sending people out to a form, within the requests, actually, let me go back to the library systems. Let's see if this user has permissions to manage these. So yeah, so in the materials request system, we have added, as one of the new form fields, we've added the ability to add, so we can add to staff information section. We're going to have a comments field. So there is now a staff comments field. So if you're doing things like saying, hey, we're going to order this from this vendor, or those kind of things, or we're updating the ISBN to get it from an alternative vendor, things that you want that aren't relevant to the patron, you can have a new staff comments field. So And that will obviously then show only 2 staff. So from a search and indexing perspective, we've made a couple of things. One of the things we're trying to cut down on is when we're looking at literary forms, the fiction and nonfiction, trying to cut down the unknown and not coded. One of the things we've done for that, and a lot of this depends on cataloging, we've given additional weight to the 008 field. So when we're determining the literary form, if it's fiction or nonfiction, we're looking at the 008, we're looking at subject information, trying to get the best feel for if it's fiction or nonfiction. We're just boosting the 008 a little bit because that's easy for libraries to change. And we'll see if we can get that down. We've got more tricks up our sleeve coming in future releases as well to try to knock those completely out. One of which is probably just hey, we don't want to bother to show unknown, not coded stuff because patrons don't care. They just need to know the fiction, nonfiction. And for things like magazines, they are not coded because that's how they're supposed to be. So, the last kind of big interface thing that we've done is so we have always had this select interface page. It's one we don't talk about a lot, but especially for consortia, being able to see a list of all libraries that are available on this site. Our test server is a little boring. We only have a few sites. This looks much more impressive on larger consortia that have potentially 100 different sites. We've given additional control. So like the bookmobile isn't really something that people are browsing a lot. So what we've done is I'm going to sign out here and sign back in with my main administration account. And let's go into our library systems. So we've got a new show and select interface. So we can go into the bookmobile and say, we are not going to show that in the select interface screen. So if we save that, now when we go look at the select interface, we're only going to have 2 different options, the Lewis Pickle and the main library. So you can get rid of those. That is available both at the library and the location level. So here we could also say, so by default, it's turned on at the library, off at the location. If there were specific ones we wanted to turn on at the location level, so for example, maybe we've got a bunch of schools and we want to get rid of, or we don't want people to search the school district catalog, but we do want them to search each of the individual library catalogs for like the elementary school, the middle school, the high school. We can turn those on here, turn off the searching the school district site, just to make things nice. And then you can easily have a page to direct people to, rather than potentially having a super long list of catalogs to choose from in like a drop-down menu that's a little harder to maintain. So then the last thing that, well, the next Aspen thing that we've been working on is translations. So we've done a lot of work to make sure that everything within Aspen can be translated. We've been going through literally hundreds of files looking for anything that's not translatable, and making sure that we can translate all of that text. So everything should be translatable. There's always the potential that we miss something. So if you see something that's not translatable, let us know. And we're happy to make that translatable. The other cool thing that we're doing is we have talked about, there was a long discussion at the beginning of the year about, hey, it would be great if it was easier to share translations. So when one library is doing a translation, if other libraries can see that, that is now the case. So we are, as you translate things, we're pushing those all to a central server. And the first time we see a term, we're going to check and see if anybody has translated that already and retrieve that from the server. So you can say, okay, well, if I'm translating something into Spanish, everybody else can see that. So hopefully that makes it a lot easier to maintain a lot more different languages. Should be good for everybody. We're really excited to have that. That also opens the door to storing other things on that central server, like placards are one of the things we've talked about, in browse categories, so you can kind of draw from a library of community generated things. Along with that translation, we are storing a little bit more information about where each of those terms live. So is it a front end thing that a patron is likely to see? Is it a back-end thing that only administrators are going to see? Is this text that library administrators are entering? So like the browse category names, where maybe each library is going to have their own terms. It's at least more unlikely that they're shared. And then are they coming out of like library metadata? So like out of our MARC records. So like if you translate all of the subjects, we can do that. It's just a lot of them. So if somebody's looking to introduce a new language, say we wanted to add German to the Aspen interface, we could prioritize first doing everything that is in the front end patron facing, then the admin area, and then all of the other things. So that's really cool. The final thing that we've been working on, Kirsten's been doing a whole bunch of work on the mobile app. So Aspen Lita is going to be the shared one. We're working on, Cal's working on getting some branding for it so that it looks awesome. And Kirsten's been working on some geolocation for the sign-in page, because we've got literally hundreds of libraries using Aspen Discovery now, which is more than we want patrons to kind of have to search through when they're using an app. So what it will do is when the app starts and you go to log in, it will say, hey, it'll geolocate your phone, assuming you give it permissions, and then say, here are the branches closest to you. So should be a really nice way to help patrons figure out which libraries to use. Yeah, so yeah, and the app is currently in App Store in the test. So it's in like Apple's test flight. It's in Google's beta store, I think they call it. We'll be releasing an update to that probably tomorrow so that people can test the geolocation. So tomorrow or Friday, depending. It's got some stuff that we have to get the 21.11 Aspen release out for before it's completely functional. So any questions on any of that functionality or any of the developments? Okay, and there was a question about, can we change the alphabetical sorting of the select interface to go alphabetical by column rather than by row? Not yet, but I'm happy to look at that. So does everybody agree that that is the way that it should sort? I see two answers, which to me means, okay, that's 3. So 3 is consensus in my book. So If somebody wouldn't mind putting in a ticket, I will make it so. Cool. Thanks, Michael. And then there was a question about, is there a way to download an entire translation from the central server? Yes. So the central server is just another Aspen server. So we would be able to export those translations the same way that we can export the translations from any of the individual sites. Well, that's the Aspen updates in an instant. Thank you everyone for coming, and we're excited to get this release out to you.